Well, hello again. Welcome to another edition of My View from the Pew. I'm Rodney Blockett, and as always, I'm grateful that you stopped by the channel today. If you're enjoying the videos, would certainly love for you to be a subscriber or at least like the videos, like or dislike, I guess. Would love to have any comments that you have on the topics that we've been discussing and anything that you'd like me to talk or discuss about. Hoping to have some more guests on so we can get and discuss different topics, but would love to have any feedback that you would like to give me and certainly appreciate that. So today's video is a little bit about just kind of what's going on in the world today, all the kind of craziness that we're experiencing from one end of the globe to the other, and just kind of the general temperature in the world today and what's going on. So, as you guys know, as I've mentioned before, in my car, I've got an XM radio that I listen to when I'm driving back and forth to work and for different appointments, and just gives me a chance to kind of tune out a little bit of the day to day, what's going on, just listen to music or listen to talk radio or something. But one of the things that they've just started a couple months ago, it's called the message. Well, one of the channels is Channel 65 Messages, which is a contemporary Christian music, but they have a special, I don't know what they call it, channel that you can get on the app. It's called Foundations, which is kind of what they call more the older contemporary Christian music as it came out back in the day, I guess, so to speak. And some of them are songs that may have been 5 years ago. Some of them could have been 25 years ago. They're just all different varieties. So I've been listening to that through my app and kind of enjoy kind of reminiscing back to the time where I used to listen, or those songs when they were popular when I was either in high school or college or just a few years back. So one of the songs that came on that kind of made me think of this is by a group called For Him, which of those who listen to Christian music in the past have probably heard of them. But they have a song called Basics of Life, which is a really cool song. Just kind of talks about, kind of the way things are and, what we need to do differently. And I printed out some of the lyrics that I thought would be kind of interesting to talk about today. So the song kind of starts out of, we've turned the page for a new day has dawned. We've rearranged what's right and wrong. Somehow we've drifted so far from the truth that we can't get back home, which is, again, pretty accurate to what's going on in the world today. The next verse is, where are the virtues that once gave us light? Where are the morals that governed our lives? Someday we all will awake just to look back to find out what we've lost. So we'll look up and say, well, it used to be that. And as I've gotten older, I kind of had that, well, when I was a kid, we wouldn't be able to do this, or you wouldn't be able to say this, or you wouldn't be able to act this way when I was a kid, or when I was younger, and, on how things are back. So the chorus always goes, we need to get back to the basics of life. A heart that is pure and a love that is blind, a faith that is firmly grounded in Christ, the hope that endures for all time. These are the basics. We need to get back to the basics of life. And as the song goes, the newest rage, just to reason it out, just meditate, you can overcome every doubt. After all, man is a God, and they say God's no longer alive, but then it goes on, but I still believe, and I still believe there's hope for the lost. I know that the rock of all ages will stand through the changes of time, and it goes back, of course, we need to get back to the basics of life. And what are those? One, a heart that's pure, a love that's blind, a faith that is firmly grounded in Christ, hope that endures for all time, the basics. And I've always said, we know what to do, whether that be, and not everybody agrees with me on this, but whether that be with protest or with different policies that we have, or money, or how we deal with other people, or just life in general, we know what to do. And the things we see on TV or the things we see reported, we know how that could be stopped. And the people, I think, doing it sometimes know that what they're doing is not right, but they do it anyway. But it's kind of interesting that's, we need to get back to the basics of life. And we've strayed so far from the truth. I love that line. Somehow we've drifted so far from the truth that we can't get back home. So the interesting part of all of this, interesting to me, I guess, is, so I looked this up on the internet a little while ago, and this song was released in 1992. 33 years ago is when this song was released. So we keep thinking, man, things are getting worse, things are getting crazier, but it just keeps, we can't help ourselves, I guess. It just keeps getting worse and worse, or we keep this repetitive cycle that we're not getting better at what we're doing. We keep straying so far from the truth, and we can't seem to figure out, what we're doing wrong. But it's so simple, the basics of life. So 33 years ago, I looked it up to see what was going on there. Riots in LA. That sounds familiar to it. World leaders were being toppled, things were going on in the Soviet Union. That sounds familiar. So, all these things that we think are new or they're happening, they've been going on for the last 30, 40, 50, 100 years for that. And as we've gotten farther away from the truth, those things tend to pop up more when really it's the basics of life is, as this song says, a heart that's pure, love that's blind. And if we could do that in our everyday lives, I would venture to say a lot of these things that we're worrying about will dissipate and go away. We won't see riots in the street. We won't see people yelling at each other online or making posts. I have a friend of mine who's an attorney where I used to grow up with, and I see all the time every post that they post on Facebook is anti-Trump, anti what's going on in there, everything negative, negative, negative. And whatever side of the aisle you're on, whether it's you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, or Martian, as I say, I don't trust any of them. They're all crooks in my opinion, but it's always negative, negative, negative. And we've got to change that. We've got to change our disposition on what we're doing in the world and what we're thinking, what we're saying, and how we're dealing with one another. We need to get back to the basics of life. And again, what are those? A heart that's pure, a love that's blind, a faith grounded in Christ. If we could do that, I bet we could change a lot of things in the world. And it starts with us. There's another song out by Casting Crowns, as and the whole song talks about, you just start right now. It all starts with us on how we can change that. So, if I can give you any encouragement today, it would be, don't be discouraged because a lot of things we see today have been going on, and there are people writing songs about it 33 years ago about similar things that are going on. But let's take the opportunity now to maybe take a step back and just remember we need to get back to the basics of life. Hope you enjoyed today's video. That's my view from the pew.